Porsche, in a bit more disappointing news though, have officially confirmed they're not coming to Formula One. They've tried different avenues. Of course, we all heard about Red Bull. They tried with Williams and McLaren, and they've said it's no longer a priority. It's no longer a central point of focus. They're going to continue doing what they do, just generally in motorsport, obviously with their new GTP/LMDH program, sports cars, all that good stuff. A bit disappointing, isn't it?
A little bit, but I think F1 will cope because I don't think Porsche was ever trying to be its own team. And obviously we've seen Red Bull get in bed with Ford and Audi obviously coming in as part of Sauber. So there's plenty of big manufacturers are interested in the sport still. It's a shame, but it's not the end of the world as long as we do get an 11th team in Andretti, which I really hope happens.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath about that one either. But it is quite interesting, of course, the fact that Porsche, Audi and Ford... Well, Ford was never really a big talking point until suddenly it was basically confirmed, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just how differently all three of those teams have effectively come in. Of course, Ford are basically just sponsoring Red Bull, like any other sponsor pretty much, and providing a small amount of technical insight. Audi, of course, have gone in with the big spending and trying to gain control over a obviously smaller team in Sauber. But Porsche kind of wanted to have their cake and eat it too, didn't they?
Yeah.
It felt like they weren't willing to provide enough to Formula One teams, but also just wanted to buy in and have control still.
Yeah, it was an F1 teams are notoriously difficult to negotiate with, especially when it comes to selling themselves off. So it's not a massive surprise to me that they couldn't get a deal done with anyone.
No, and I mean, it's weird, isn't it, as well? Because, of course, you mentioned about how difficult Formula One teams are to be sold off. Depends on the Formula One team and when, of course. Some teams, looks at Honda at the end of 2008.
Yeah,
£1
£1.
Sell that team for £1. But I think, it was interesting reading a couple of articles about it. Because, of course, 2026 would have been the perfect time for Porsche, wouldn't it? New power units and, obviously, new era regulations as well. Effectively a clean slate for everyone with the new era. But of course, on the other hand to that, it's also the worst time for them to try and get involved because it's the first time in a long time that every Formula One team, if I believe correctly, is currently profitable, which is mad.
Yeah, it's quite crazy. And the startup costs of an F1 team are ludicrous. So you'd be dropping
especially
hundreds.
With the 600 mil you've got to pay.
Yeah, you'd be spending probably over $1 billion, definitely hundreds of millions to even begin a Formula One team. So yeah, it is a huge commitment to try and become your own entry. And yeah, I don't think there's a new Concord agreement coming anytime soon. So yeah, it's not looking well. Porsche have obviously pulled out now, so that's a shame. But I think we'll survive.
We will. But it would have been nice to see some Porsche technology, of course, because they just have got such an illustrious Formula One past. Do you know, Jamie, the last team that Porsche worked with in Formula One?
I didn't even know they had worked with a team.
Yeah, they've had their own team before. They've powered other teams before.
Was it something random like Van Wall?
No.
Ah.
Well, it was random, but not Van Wall.
Who was it?
Footwork.
Oh, that wasn't actually far off. I categorised.
Well, you were quite far off.
I categorised random names of teams that I don't know anymore in the same area.
I mean, Porsche powered McLaren for a few years under Tag.
Yeah,
Jamie,
I suppose.
Back in the 80s.
Fair enough.
So they've certainly dipped in and out, of course, but they've only ever really had a Porsche Formula One team. Well, it was 1960, where I think they rebadged a different car, and then did 1961, and were like, we don't really care.
Yeah,
they've never come back in a full capacity.